As we get ready here, I appreciate everyone taking the time to hop on. Really excited to share some of our new products, as well as answer questions about some of our existing products. We've got some really great team members. We've got Chris and Kaitlyn. Kaitlyn's one of our product managers, and Chris leads our sales team. Yeah. So for everyone's awareness, Chris has been on a roadshow. We just had one of our products get Medicare approved. And so Chris has been a lot of excitement about it. So Chris has been out showing that product around the country. So I think you've probably been on the road more days than you've been home, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's been great though. We're glad to get this product in front of clinicians and the end users who really could benefit from it. So it's been an exciting experience. We've partnered with our independent rep groups in the field to really get the product in front of as many people as we can, clinician and end users alike. So I can give you a quick breakdown, Tim, and on the in-service, that might be the best way to start is go through the product itself and then answer some live feedback from the field if that works with you.
That sounds great. Sounds great. So let's see. Kaitlyn, let's see. Kaitlyn should be on here shortly. But while Kaitlyn joins, let me chat a little bit about the history of Kalogon, why we were founded, and where we're at today. So Kalogon was founded around 4 years ago. We were founded by ex-NASA and SpaceX engineers. So for me, I've been in the wheelchair industry almost 15 years, starting with a nonprofit that I founded in high school. I would give away CRT chairs. I gave away well over 150, and then from there was a designer and got my name on the patent for an all-terrain wheelchair. Additionally, I was able to do some work with Stephen Hawking and build the world's first smart wheelchair. Intel named it the #1 smart device of the year back in 2014. And then after being at SpaceX for a while, I realized that pressure injuries. And you're good to hop in, Kaitlyn. I've got Kaitlyn joining me here.
Hello. I'm here now. Hey, everybody.
Yeah. So back at SpaceX, I was still well aware the industry is still really plugged in, and kind of realized that pressure injuries were still a major issue. And in the time I was in the industry, I hadn't seen a huge amount of innovation. And so that's where I got a bunch of my co-founders from SpaceX and NASA to jump in, and we decided that we were going to use technology to solve this problem. One of our core things was how do we make sure that everything from clinicians to the end users to their family members and caretakers, how do we meet all of their needs, as well as deal with the regulatory situations as well that we have to deal with in the CRT space. And so now Kalogon has got multiple products in the market. We've got years of experience in the VA healthcare system selling while we worked on the regulatory on the Medicare side. And now really excited to hear you guys' questions and be able to share feedback about our products. All right, Chris, you want to take it away?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first thing to do before we address the questions is kind of go through the product and just a brief overview, brief in service on the Orbiter Med itself, and to give you guys a little bit of direction on what that is so that we can base the questions kind of off that. So I've actually got it here. This is Kalogon's Orbiter Med. I don't know if you guys can see that okay. But what the direction that we're taking at Kalogon is, you can see this across our product list, is the idea of skin integrity. Our two main focuses are the idea of skin integrity and to help our end users and clinicians meet the rising standards of compliance. And you'll see that in our cushion. And what Orbiter Med is, I'm going to pull it out here just again for 1 second to give you an idea. It's a standard custom configured cushion. So it's a top of the line custom configured cushion that has our advanced pressure management system inside of it. And what the advanced pressure management system is it's 6 anatomically placed, strategically placed air cells beneath a layer of viscoelastic foam. So some of the top sun-made foam on the market. And the air cells, there are components of an alternating air cushion in the Orbiter Med, but that is very much not all that it is. So these aerosols are independently, strategically placed. You have two underneath your the ischium tuberosities. You have two supporting air cells on the trochanters, and then two underneath your thighs. And what they do is they independently offload from each other. And the rationale there is that you're able to give the whole seating arena a level of revascularization that's a novel technology. So the advanced pressure management technology really hits the revascularization. And what else it does is it will give you the ability to really influence posture, combined with the custom configurations that you'll see in the cushion itself. But we're addressing postural influence with that because the aerosols can be dialed in to accommodate for certain asymmetries, obliquities. If you want to float the ITs, you can. You lower the IT aerosols and the trochanter bags and the thigh bags, then shoulder that burden. And where it's really cool is that typically when you see in a cutout, right, or in a cushion that is formed to the body, the aperture of whatever area is more susceptible that you're doing the cutout for is going to be highly susceptible to skin breakdown at that area. Our cushion is much more forgiving, and that's really the direction we wanted to hit there because the air cells themselves, the supporting air cells of whatever area that you have cut out, those are going to be offloading from each other. So it creates that cyclic blood flow and that revascularization that we're looking for. And that technology was published in the Journal of Tissue Viability, showing that it works, showing that it's not just an alternating air cushion going back, forth, back, forth. It's not just a randomized massager. This is honed in, dialed in to be relative to you, whomever the end user is sitting on this cushion, and also to the clinician prescribing that pressure that's going to be safe for the end user. And there was 3 years of experience we had in the VAs with our Orbiter Classic, which has the exact same technology that's in Orbiter Med, but Orbiter Med has stepped it up a little bit. It's put them into a custom configured cushion that has your lateral pelvic supports. It gives you a pre-ischial ridge option, a deeper pelvic well, and just everything that we learned during those 3 years that really we needed to customize for you, from live feedback, from veterans, from end users who paid for it out of their pocket. We took all that, we assembled it into Orbiter Med, which is a fully coated E2609 cushion. It's reimbursable through insurance, and we made this technology that addresses skin integrity and compliance available to everyone, as many people as we could get it in front of. So that's really what Orbiter Med is. But the coolest aspect of it is where we bring compliance into play is that the cushion itself, each of those air cells, not only are they independently offloading and able to be dialed in to influence your posture relative, they're also adaptable. So meaning if you're shifting and doing slight micro shifts in posture, the cushion is going to sense that and going to drop the pressure in areas where you're putting heightened pressure onto. This has nothing to do with capillary pressure. It's based on the pressure itself in the air cells that communicate dozens of times per second with the control box, which is essentially a small computer and an air pump in the back of the cushion itself. So the adaptability, if you think of that in a sense of something that you're molded into or scanned into, instead of having to remold or reshade down or make that cushion accommodate you, it's actually able to do it in real time by dialing in those settings. Or when you're sitting incorrectly, the cushion notices that and it adapts to that. And that's really the novel technology that's in Orbiter Med, and that's available now to you guys as a fully customized cushion. So it's kind of a brief overview. You can see some of those elements in all of those elements in Orbiter Classic, but as well as in Booster, which is our air management system that is for the static single cell air cushions. We're looking at compliance and we're looking at preservation of skin integrity. Those are our two real focuses, and we really think we nailed it with Orbiter Med. So that's kind of a brief overview of what Orbiter Med is. So please ask any questions on the clinical side on thoughts that you have. I see a question from Joel Rosenstein. Your son has a cat, and it's puncture. You're asking how the air cells themselves, how puncture proof they are. Well, the air cells are actually going to be beneath a layer of viscoelastic foam, which is great. It's an inch layer, as well as a microfiber. It's got 2 layers of covering. It's a microfiber and polyurethane blend in our 4-way stretch cover. So that gives you a lot of protection on the air cells themselves, which are TBU and really, really durable as it is. But the cover themselves kind of will really help with that. So we haven't had any, that I know of, any punctures from cat nails or pens or things like that. So it's pretty durable and it's got a lot of protection around it. But with that, I'll turn it over to Kaitlyn, who can kind of go through um, our pretty frequently asked questions, and that might help with some of the overlying things. Is that okay, Kaitlyn? I turn it over to you for those questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry I was a little bit late, some technical difficulties, but my name is Kaitlyn Reedy. I'm the product manager for Orbiter Med. Super excited to be here today to answer all your questions and share some cool Kalogon tech with you. So yeah, just we have a bunch of questions that we get frequently. So Chris, let's talk about the order form a little bit and the length of the order form, what's required on there, if you want to dive into that.
Yeah, no problem. The order form is going to look pretty familiar, guys. So we do have a comprehensive seating assessment with it, which your clinician or you as the clinician will be required to fill out because we need to meet those standards to get our E2609 code effectively pushed through. We have a lot of eyes on us as a new product from the payer side. So we want to be as complete as necessary, at least for a couple of years until we get down the road. And our sales team will help with that. So pretty standard order form, covers the essentials of what you need. It's going to go a little bit into whatever your existing cushion is or the wheelchair itself. On the seating assessment form, it's going to go a little bit more into the diagnostics, but it should be pretty familiar. And we try to get as concise as we could to get passed with Medicare and the other payers without any issues. So it's about the total, I think, in general is 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it 8 total pages, Kaitlyn?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's pretty standard for what you see with other custom configured cushions or custom molded cushions in the 2609 category.
Awesome. Yeah, so another question we get is, do we need to fill out our seating assessment form or that wheelchair assessment form? That form is something that's going to be submitted alongside your letter of medical necessity and your order form for that E2609 coding. So there's a couple different criteria that you have to meet to qualify for reimbursement under E2609. So that form kind of walks you through where you might, what criteria you might fall under. And it's just something that we submit kind of as a package with that order form and the letter of medical necessity. So yeah, we talked about next question. What is the Medicare reimbursement amount in my particular state? Chris, do you want to take that one?
Yes. So that's going to vary. We have some data on that can help with that. But that's typically best to run by your clinician because that can vary for the payer. It can vary for the different options there. But that's going to be really relative to you. So I would take that with your clinician, and we can see if you reach out to us directly if we can give you the data on that. But E2609 is a code that has been regularly used for a very long time. So we do have those answers, but I don't want to go through each and every one of the states right now. But feel free to call us. We can help you with that, and your clinician can help as well.
Awesome. All right, yeah. Another common question that we get a lot is, how does this cushion look on a pressure map? So because this cushion is completely custom, everyone's body type is different. Everyone is going to look a little bit different on a pressure map. Something that's a little bit unique about our development process is that we did extensive pressure mapping on a lot of different people. Many different use cases with a lot of different body types in order to try to reduce some common high area pressure zones. So we did take that into account when we were developing Orbiter Med. Another thing that's interesting about Orbiter Med and just Orbiter in general is that you can use the app to make adjustments in those 6 zones or in Orbiter in those 5 zones. So if there is an area that in real time you're seeing that there's an issue or a high pressure zone, you can use the app to kind of make those adjustments to see if you can get that pressure down. So you can make live adjustments in real time, which I think is a unique aspect of our tech.
Yeah, Kaitlyn, I'm going to jump in on that. That is really a powerful piece. So, when you are doing your typical seating assessment, our independent representatives in the field, as well as our sales teams themselves, will have exactly like this a live modular demo, which means that we can adjust the lateral thigh supports, we can adjust the posterior pelvic supports, or as you may have heard of them called as cantles, and we could adapt those in real time to fit what's relative to your patient. But it is really powerful to utilize this with the pressure map and really hone in and dial in those settings to adjust for areas of heightened sensitivity that are going to be high pressure zones. And so it is recommended to try to utilize it with a pressure map because it gets it more granular and really dialed in relatively. But the settings that we have as default settings are based on 3 years of data coming back from veterans in the field, because VAs were our primary area of focus. But that's where those default settings are coming from to give you that setup standard. So the default settings are going to cover your main like 85% of the populace. But those outliers, it is good to bring a pressure map into play also because it's really cool to see that effective technology transparently active for what you're doing. So like real-time custom molding, if you will.
Awesome. Yeah, so next question. I have a prescription from my doctor for Orbiter Med. Chris, what are my next steps?
Perfect. So if you have a prescription from Orbiter Red from your doctor, generally you're going to probably be in touch with their independent rep who is available to show them that. But if you've gotten that from an advertisement or from somewhere online that you saw Orbiter Med or from this conversation or what have you, just give us a call here at Kalogon, and we'll direct you in the right way to take that. So we'll put you in touch with your wheelchair supplier, with the independent representative who covers you, or if there are areas of non-coverage where our territory sales manager will cover you, we'll get you connected that way. So short answer is give us a call and we'll lead you in the right direction there.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, so another question we get is, can we customize the type of foam that's inside of the incontinence cover? So Orbiter Med is made out of 2 different foams. We have a softer topper foam, and that's the foam that's inside of the incontinence cover, and then we have a structural foam on the base that's underneath those air cells. So you can't customize the topper foam of the incontinence cover that's going to be sewn into that cover, but where the customization lies is in that base foam. So in the order form, when you're walking through, that's where you can customize and really play with the different shapes that we can do with the cushion. Another thing, if you're looking, like I mentioned before, for something that's a little less permanent in the customization, that's where you would play into those air cells. If you need pressure, if you need more pressure or less pressure in one area, if you need more support in the back than the front, that's where you're going to use the Kalogon app to make those customizations. So really the 2 main levels of customization for the cushion are in that base structural foam and then in the air cells after you receive your cushion.
And the air cells themselves are really immersive too and comfortable too. So if you're looking for that softer aspect of it, you can dial that in, like Kaitlyn was saying, really in the app itself with the air cells, but they're meant to be immersive. And the foam's some of the best on the market. So typically your bases will be covered, and that question comes up quite a bit, I think, because maybe some custom configured cushions that were present in the marketplace needed those configurations, but we really can cover a lot of that base with the air cells and the immersiveness of themselves. So
yeah. All right, next question. So how is Orbiter Med not an alternating air cushion if it has air cells? Chris, do you answer that?
Yes, I get a little defensive here with this, but so there are components of an alternating air cushion that are in Orbiter Med and also in Orbiter Classic. Totally understood. It is alternating air. What needs to be really focused on, and short of opening this up and showing it to you, which I honestly might do, it's not going just randomly back and forth. Where it's not just an alternating air cushion is the fact that this is real time adapting to how you're sitting in this cushion. Meaning the communication between the computer box, the control unit, and the cushion itself is happening dozens of times per second. So it's not just alternating air to shift you around. The shifts are, we had put time and thought into the positioning of the air cells. So the strategic positioning of them and how the air cells can be dropped and mitigated in real time to you as a relative end user is novel technology that doesn't exist anywhere else besides with Kalogon products and inside the Orbiter products more specifically. So the revascularization technology is nowhere present in any other alternating air cushion. The postular influence that can be utilized through both the custom configurations, but as well as the air cells themselves, is found only in the Orbiter and Orbiter Med and Orbiter Classic. The adaptation technology that you're going to see when you're sitting incorrectly in the cushion or when you're shifting around in it and doing slight micro shifts in posture, that is totally novel to Orbiter Med. So I get a little defensive with it because it does so much more than just alternate air. It's revascularizing the whole skin, whole seating environment. It's helping you on the compliance side so that if you're sitting in this wrong or you come down differently, which is difficult for anybody to do every time, our cushion is more forgiving. And the elements of those air cells will react directly in real time. It literally shifts to ambient pressure changes. So if you're on an airplane, the orbiter will know it and will adapt to that. If your grandson comes on your lap and gives you a little extra weight, the air cells will reduce pressure as a result of that. That's much more than just alternating air. So sorry, I get a little heated and a little passionate about it, but this is so cool that it does, and the clinical backing behind it, showing that the air cells, the APM technology really does revascularize the seating arena is unique to us and us alone. So that's a long answer to a short question, but there you go.
Awesome. I love it. All right. Yeah. So yeah, moving into.
Yeah. We have a lot of questions.
If we're near Melbourne, can we come into you for a fitting, or what is the best way to work with us if we're in the area?
Yeah, of course. So Joel, we have Zach Kay, who's our territory manager for the East Coast, and more specifically, he's the territory manager for Florida. So I can put you in touch with Zach, and actually we could have you come in here, but we don't mind coming out to you if you're near Melbourne. Not a problem at all. We'll come out, give you a little demonstration, and go through everything from there. So I'll get you in touch after this call with Zach Kay, who's our Florida territory manager, and we will take care of you that way.
Awesome. Cool. Another question we get a lot is kind of the dimensions of that pelvic well and those air cells. So the pelvic well is always, the base of it is always constant. So it's always going to be 8 inches at the base of the cushion. It does have a slight angle when it's kind of seamlessly merging with the rest of the base of the cushion. So that top perimeter is what's going to change. So the base of the cushion is always 8 inches. And that top perimeter is going to change based on the width of the cushion. So the width of that is going to increase by a half an inch every time you're adding an inch to the cushion. So for an 18 by 18, that top perimeter is going to be 11.5 inches. If we're on a 19, it's going to be 12 inches and so on. For the air cells, all of those are going to be completely custom to the size of the cushion that you order. So those back 4 air cells are custom to the width of the cushion. So they're changing based on if you have a 15, 16, 17, and so on. And then those front thigh air cells are based on the length of the cushion. So just to give you kind of an idea of where the customization lies within Orbiter Med. So Chris, another question: can I use the same control unit for my orbiter as for Orbiter Med? I can take that one.
No, I got it. Yeah, if this were just a standard alternating cushion, probably, but this is like a legitimate computer, so the answer is no. Orbiter Med has a very specific and unique control box that is relative to it. So if you have your Orbiter Classic, unfortunately, it's not the same stuff going on in here with what's going on with Orbiter Med. And we separated that intentionally. So no, unfortunately, you cannot. But it's a unique control unit that is relative to you. Like everything else in our technology, we want this to be involved with you and your clinician and set for you. It's not just an off-the-shelf cushion. This is like a live, real-time molded custom cushion. So, yeah, no, it's unique to Orbiter Med.
Yeah, and that's something where from like the technology side with all of our different products, we dial in the algorithms based on the design of the cushion. This is a different design cushion. If we were to just make it, try to use the same algorithms that we used previously, that that would leave a lot of value on the table. And that's where, while the control box looks the same, what it's doing and the internal, how it's processing your movement, how it's designed to support your body is completely different than the way the previous cushion, you know, the Orbiter Classic was designed.
Yeah, but lucky for you, a new Orbiter Med control unit is included with every Orbiter Med, so you don't have to worry about that too much.
Right. I see a live question here, guys. I'm sorry I arrived late, but can you give a brief explanation between the difference between Orbiter Classic and Orbiter Med? Yes. So Orbiter Classic was a beautiful piece of technology, beautiful cushion. It has the advanced pressure management technology inside of it, and it's actually where Kalogon got its start. An interesting story on that is it was coded as E2610, which is a code that is just not being adequately reimbursed in certain areas. So a lot of our direction there was in VAs, and that's kind of where we got started. Orbiter Classic it won't give you the customization features that are available inside of Orbiter Med. And that's the real difference is we've got a top of the line custom configured cushion in Orbiter Med that blends in the advanced pressure management technology of Orbiter Classic. But it's for people essentially who don't need those different deeper modifications. And Orbiter Med's made for people with asymmetries that need that extra structural and postural support while preserving skin integrity. And Orbiter Classic is going to fall into more of that category that you need maybe a little less structure in your cushion, something that's more adjacent to a single cell static air cushion, but still honing in those strategic anatomically placed air cells that are creating that revascularization. So short answer is Orbiter Med is going to be made for more postural and structural support while giving you that advanced pressure management. Orbiter Classic is going to be if you don't need that much structure, you don't need that much contact. But that's kind of the differentiation of the two cushions. So, and a little history too. So,
awesome. Thank you.
There you go. What was the next question there, Kaitlyn, on the list itself, though? Sorry to jump in and cut you off.
Yeah. We just got a new question in. Where are the 6 air cells located? So there are 2 air cells under your ITs, 2 air cells under your trochanters or your hips, and then there are 2 connected air cells in the front under your thighs. So the next question that we had in here was, can I shave the foam myself? So I suppose it is possible to shave the base foam. However, that's going to affect the air bladders, the way that they're interacting with your body, and the fit of the cover. So each air cell was strategically positioned, like Chris mentioned, to target any high risk areas in those back 4 zones. So under your ITs and then under your trochanters. So we recommend that if you are needing some sort of customization, that you use the Kalogon app. If you're needing kind of a minor change like that, those air cells are completely adjustable independently in the app. So like I mentioned before, if you're needing more or less pressure in one zone, if you're needing more or less structural support in one zone, that's where we would recommend that you play with it, because you'll be able to get a good amount of adjustment via the app.
Yeah, and that's like kind of the whole thing we're trying to combat here is that back end follow-up process that you have to go through with the shaving. Like you could legitimately do this in real time. So yes, you probably could shave it, right, Kaitlyn? But that's the whole point of the app in the real-time customizations that you can do is the air cells will accommodate a lot of that.
Right. And so if your needs are changing over time, it's a much less permanent way to make a change in the base of your cushion. So instead of having to shave off the zone, you can just adjust it in the app. And if that need changes over time, because we know that the needs of everyone are changing constantly, that's you have that option to go in it and adjust it.
Yeah, it's very forgiving, and you can do that in real time. You've seen some irritation and some adverse effects. You can dial that in as a clinician or end user. So, cool.
Yeah. All right. So how long will it take once I've paid for my Orbiter Med to receive it? Chris, you want to take that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it will get reimbursed. Hopefully, if it's falling into the categories and we fill everything out properly. Typically, we see that it's a 2 to 3 month window from when the reimbursement hits and it gets accepted from when we put in all your forms and applications. So a better way to address that question would be go to kind of what the steps are. The steps would be you see your clinician, you get prescribed the Orbiter Med. It's a fit to you. We go through the order form, and your clinician would fill out what customizations you need relative to you and dial in that prescribed pressure that they set for you relative to your body and what's going on with you. At that point, that order form is then then submitted to insurance, and that will be done through a wheelchair supplier or dealer. And then they wait to hear the feedback, which usually takes at that point 2 to 3 months. And in that time, when we get that, we send that out to you after that. So that's kind of
to give you an idea of our lead time. Obviously, it depends on how quickly the order comes in from fitting. But from Kalogon's perspective, once we actually do receive those dimensions and the order, we are looking at typically 1 to 2 weeks, but we guarantee that it's going to be 3 weeks or less.
All right, do you want to go back to the main chat to see if there's other questions we've got?
Yeah, so actually, Kaitlyn, on the user reviews, you want to talk about, so one of the ways Kalogon does our design, it's very important to us to test and validate with actually end users in the field. And what's really important about that is there's lots of different body types, especially when you're looking at someone with like a recent spinal cord injury or someone with ALS or someone that's had a spinal cord injury for quite some time. And so we actually deploy test cushions in the field so that we can get feedback on the product. So do you want to talk about some of the people who've actually had the product in the field and what their results have been?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so we have a full beta testing program for all of our new products, but for me specifically, I'm focused on Orbiter Med. So we have a whole beta testing program for that. We've been able to receive a lot of great feedback, and what's really cool about Kalogon is we're able to quickly iterate based on user feedback. So there have been things that we've seen in the field, whether that's the structure of the foam or the placement of the air bladder, or even the control unit staying on a mount. We're able to take that feedback, we iterate on it, and then we can get those cushions back to the beta testers, and we've seen really great results and really great feedback from everyone who's been working with us. So we're super excited about that, and I'm excited to get some real units out to people to hopefully help some people out with their skin integrity and any structural issues.
Fantastic. And then on the durability and control box question, so that's a great question. Because we do all of our manufacturing in-house, literally like one wall away from where we're currently manufacturing Orbiter Meds right now, because we control the whole process, we're able to make improvements. So if you're having issues with the durability, please definitely reach out. There are things that we can do in the process. If we understand how you were able to break it, we can actually make it stronger in those ways. And we really work hard to take care of our customers. So depending on how it was broken, I'm sure we can find a way to take care of you as well. So make sure to reach out. We take those learnings. All that feedback is used to continually improve our product at all times. The Orbiter Meds control box construction is very similar to the Orbiter Classic. But yeah, really appreciate that feedback.
Tim, who can they reach out to?
So they can reach out. We have a product management team. Kaitlyn's one of them. You can always reach out to me. There's always contact@kalogon.com. Do we have a specific email for the product management team, or should they start with contact@kalogon.com?
You can start with contact@kalogon.com. If you have any questions about Orbiter Med specifically, my email is easy. It's just Kaitlyn@kalogon.com. So we're always happy to help. And like Tim mentioned, our iteration process does not halt at the end of the beta testing program. We're constantly working with users and implementing feedback so we can create a product that's the most helpful for the greatest number of people.
Yeah. And one really exciting thing there is, so to give you some idea of like, what a company creates is really, you have to look at how the company has built itself out. So the vast majority of companies in the space don't have a full-time design engineering team always working to improve their products. So if you were to go point to any of the other seating companies in the space, in terms of cushions, Kalogon has more engineers continuously working on improving our seating, doing more research than anyone. And so with our high number of in-house engineers, the limiting factor for our product continually improving is the feedback from the field. The more feedback we get, the more we can continue to improve it. So this is really, really helpful on the control box side. Please send those over. If you've got photos, if you've got stories of any time, if there's anything that we can do to make the product better, always reach out to us. It's always evolving. It's not like a model year worth of car where we say, here's what you get. We're penciled down until next year. We're always implementing changes because, there's no product that's perfect.
Yeah, and also to jump in there, Tim, we're human beings too, and this company is made to improve the lives of people sitting in a wheelchair and for people who can utilize Orbiter. So it's short of you throwing this out of the car window or smashing it, just talk to us, and we'll help you, with any durability or issues on the warranty. We understand and the things that we're dealing with. We're very open to discussion with all that sort of thing. And then David Kellum, we're so glad to hear that that you're loving the Orbiter Classic. The control box, same thing. For all that Orbiter is doing, the control box staying on that mount is a little difficult, but feel free to call us and we can walk you through on a virtual call, which really helps to kind of go through the mounting aspect. Some of the mounting piece, there's little tricks to it. Like if you put it on like this, undo it a little bit further, you can slide around certain bars, but please feel free to reach out. We'll walk you through that virtually on how to keep your box on that mount kit.
So. Yeah, we actually have, what's cool is because we do so much manufacturing in-house, we've had like a couple, like a VA, for example. We have a mount that's named after a VA because they really love mounting it a specific way. So we made them a custom mount. Then we went ahead and manufactured a handful of those, and they're in inventory. So when we have these challenges, while it doesn't make sense to put every mounting option on the order form because that would just be overwhelming, if you have a unique issue with some of the standard mounts, let us know because we probably have something on the shelf that we can send you and help you out.
Okay. All right. Are upgrades included and for how long? So Chris, you want to talk a little bit about our updates and the warranty?
Yes. So let me see. So I just wanted to be clear for Joel, for upgrades are just a little more specific, like upgrades in the app themselves, or are you talking about if you can upgrade to the current cushion? What was I just wonder if you could be a little more specific on that?
Yeah, while he does that, I'd love to talk about the software side because I think that's a big thing that is exciting about Kalogon that's not true with any other cushion. As you own your product with Kalogon, it gets better with time. We're improving products. We're always, we release software updates that optimize the algorithms. We hear from users that they want different different designs in the app, different features, which is right. Perfect. Software updates. Yeah, so we're on a software. We have a release cycle. So what happens is we go in. So you do get software updates included free. We do not charge for our software, and we have no plans to start charging you for what makes your product usable. That's just really not our business mentality. When you buy a product, we are happy for that product to last 2, 3, 4, 5 times as long as the warranty. We also design it in a way that instead of having a cushion that once one part of it starts to wear out, but you got to throw the whole thing out. That's not how we operate. So you'll notice that our control boxes are even designed where you can disconnect it. So if you have any part like a bladder, the control box, the cover, or the foam just wears out because you've had it for years and years, we'll sell you just that component and not try to force you to buy a whole new product. It's not great for the environment, and it's not great for our customers to have to spend so much money if only a small part of their cushion is worn out over time.
And the warranty period's 18 months. I don't know if we went over that, but for both of our products, it's 18 months. So there's a pretty extensive warranty on it. And again, just call us to discuss what's going on with your product if there's any defects, and we'll be happy to. Our goal is to make you comfortable, happy, seated, active, and really happy in your cushion. So
yeah, and feedback, one of the best ways to get other upgrades, and one of the best ways to be the first to get to try some new products is to give the best feedback, not the positive. Like, we want all the feedback. Like, best is in really insightful, give us the details. Getting that to our product managers, the product managers are the ones that get their hands on new products first because they're the ones out there improving them. And so becoming friends with Kaitlyn, Aaron, or Coral, our product managers, that's your best way to not only get access to behind the scenes for some of our new products. Now, we do make people sign NDAs because we have some really cool stuff that we're always working on. But if you're a part of that, program, which you can actually apply to be a part of the market, what's called the flyers.
Yeah, so our marketing program is the Kalogon Flyers, which Carla just linked in the chat. And then there's other ways that you can connect with us, like I mentioned before, through our beta testing program. But yeah, again, if you are having any issues, if you have any feedback, and you'd like to bring that to the product management level, please, again, my email is Kaitlyn@Kalogon.com. My phone number is in my email signature. Reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you and see how we can help.
yeah, mine's in mine too. I'll share mine too. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me as well.
And then I'll put mine in the chat as well. So for me, high level, I'm the CEO of the company, but I'm still very involved with the product. I'm an engineer by trade. I love engineering. At the end of the day, my job is to equip my team with the resources so that we can continue to make the world's greatest products and never stop pushing, relentlessly continuing to improve. But at the end of the day, like, I'm still very involved with the product. I'm talking with the product, probably the point where it's annoying. I'm involved with the product management team because making the world's greatest products is what Kalogon is here for. We're here to solve our customers' issues. We're here to get it in the hands. Like, we've got this Medicare approved product. Getting new technology to be reimbursable is not easy. We've been spending years trying to get this going. And at the end of the day, like, feel free to reach out to me if you have any ideas or, any issues. You can absolutely escalate it to me if you're not getting the help you need from our team.
And what's beautiful about Kalogon too is the quickness and adaptation that we implement that I've never seen anywhere else in my tenure, is the ability to change to accommodate people who are asking for something to help them in their lives. And I've seen, been able to walk, everything's in house, and I'm able to walk right back to production and Tim and say, hey, these are the thoughts we're hearing from our end users who are sitting on this, or our clinicians who are prescribing the Orbiter Med or the Orbiter Classic, and they thought about this. What about this change or things like that? And we're able to bring that on the sales side directly to Tim, who's, yeah, I mean, you just can't get that really anywhere else. And it's really cool to be a part of something like that is really driven by the end user, really driven by the clinician, and able to change in such a quick and efficient way. So I'm really excited to be a part about that. And I'm proud to share these products. Orbiter Med, of course, but Booster and Orbiter Classic are really amazing. And it's neat. It's really neat to be a part of this. So yeah, any questions direct them our way? Yeah, do you want to talk a little bit or no?
Sorry, go ahead. I cut you off. I couldn't hear you.
No, you're good. I was like, did you want me to jump into Booster, or are we keeping this Orbiter Med? Because we can do that.
So I know it's Orbiter Med, but we've mentioned Booster a couple times. So, like, I think it is a new product. It's not nearly as new as Orbiter Med. But just, high level, we know that for some people, these, top tier, postural support cushions, the smart movement cushions, not everyone has access to those, especially, it really just depends on what your needs are. But we also have a really cool safety device that's new, that's out there, that you're able to attach to your single cell air cushions. It's really small, so it's not going to give you any of our smart alternating or any of those other, amazing features from Orbiter Med. But what it will do is ensure that your cushion, you're not bottoming out because you've got a leak. It'll detect the leak. It'll add the air back in, and it'll remember your settings. So that's another cool product that if you're interested in, reach out to the sales team, because that's a new one that's out on the market.
And we just linked the page on the booster page on our website in the chat, so you can go ahead and check that out as well.
This is why you don't bring the CEO in, because then I go off the rails. I'm like, have you seen this other cool thing we're working on?
Yeah, Booster's really cool on the management maintenance side. It manages, maintains whatever that prescribed pressure settings that you put in that single cell static air cushion. And you can see that technology where that was drawn from out of the Orbiter Med, which I'm going to pull up again here to showcase it. And that technology was pulled into Booster to really give it to really give people who were having an immediate problem on their immediate cushion a solution. And again, you can see the elements of skin integrity and help with the rising standards of compliance across our product lines. So it's really neat. Getting a booster in your hands really changes it. People don't believe what it's going to do until they're actively using it. So it's really nice.
Yeah, and that is compatible with ROHOs and stars. We've tested all the big to the small. So we, while, like I said, the Orbiter Med and Orbiter Classic are the top tier cushions, if for one reason or another, an air cushion is right for you, the Booster is a fantastic product. It does work with just about any of the single cells, so it's single valve air cushions, but we specifically tested it with the full range of ROHOs and star cushions.
Yeah. Like if you're leaving if you're using it on a ROHO Quattro and you're leaving the air valve open, it's going to effectively work, but that is off label. Just making that out, putting that out there.
We did get another question. So he asked, does the Orbiter Med cushion have a built-in pressure mapping system that's controlled with the app, or does the customer have to get a separate pressure mapping system to set the cushion air levels? So the cushion itself does not have a pressure mapping system. We do when you're setting it up, we do recommend that you use a pressure map. But whenever you're connecting to the app, what you're doing is you're connecting to those the control box that's controlling the air zone, the air cells. So you can adjust the pressure in those specific zones without using a hand pump. You're swiping on an app. So you can be really specific about what pressures you would like in those zones. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, and one thing that's really interesting is, you don't have to use a pressure map with an Orbiter Med. Mm-hmm. We believe that for every cushion, you should make sure you have some method to evaluate whether that's the right cushion for you, because no one cushion is right for everyone. That's why we made a cushion that you can configure the foam and configure the bladders so that it can be right for as many people as possible. But in the same way that if you go buy just a straight foam cushion and you don't pressure map it, you don't have to use the pressure map for ours. But if you do, you can always dial in all the other parts of the chair. So even if you just have a foam cushion, dialing in and making sure your legs are at the proper height, making sure your backrest positioning is proper, getting all that dialed in and correct. A pressure map's a great way to identify problems with the setup that you might not notice otherwise. So that's why we always recommend it, because even outside of our seating, it can drive value in identifying other ways that you can improve someone's immersion and posture.
Yeah, and like Chris mentioned, the other cool thing is that once you are set up in those zones, we're going to be able to maintain that pressure. So again, if you're carrying something heavy in your lap, if you're driving in the mountains, or if it's thunderstorming like it is today here in Melbourne, and the pressure outside is changing, the cushion's going to adapt to those ambient conditions. So to avoid having those high risk areas.
Yeah, funny story. no one probably cares about the engineering side, but I'm a nerd. While we were doing some of our earlier development, our sensors were we're in Florida, so our sensors are so accurate that we detected a hurricane coming and we thought our sensors were broken because they were not reading the typical ambient pressure. So even though we didn't change elevation, the hurricane coming in, we were so precise that we literally saw the pressure change from that was days out, and it made us think our stuff was broken until we checked based on like some of the National Weather Service stuff. We're like, oh, our pressure has changed even though the sea level hasn't changed. So that's a really cool thing that we didn't realize while we were designing it. Chris, what happens if there is a leak and you've got a booster plugged into it? Because we all know what happens when you don't have a booster plugged into it.
Yeah, exactly. If there's no booster on it or management aspect, it becomes very dangerous really quickly. So what booster does is it's going to manage not just relative pressure that's set in those single cell static air cushions for whoever it's plugged into. It's a dialed in prescribed pressure relative to you. So it's meant to be utilized one-handed with the pump and the valve, or with an app if you want to get a little more granular and a little more detailed on it. But it's meant to be used one-handed while you're palpating and doing your IT check and checking yourself. So instead of using an air pump, this activates as that. Where the real magic takes place is that it will fight to the death of itself to maintain, not only just accommodate for the leak, but maintain that prescribed pressure that was set initially for you. So it will pump it full to keep it at that set pressure where you're safe at until it dies and battery life goes out. So the typical battery life on this, we say around 48 to 56 hours. But if you think of it like your iPhone, if there's a leak in it, it's going to run out quicker. But it will audibly and visually alert you to any changes. I'm going to turn mine on just so you can see a little example here. I'm going to put it in my headphones. So,
cushion airway blocked.
Did you guys hear that?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if it was coming through my headphone, but it'll tell you. Like if there's an air leak in your row, this thing a booster will tell you. Let me tell you. So if you think of that, encompassing all of our products, Penelope, the orbiter med itself and the booster, they're meant to be, once you're dialed in and once you and your clinician have set that prescribed pressure for you and it's relative to you, the cushions are acting to accommodate that to any change outside of that realm. Meaning if you're shifting around, the orbiter will accommodate for that because it knows that your safe set pressure is where you're supposed to be. Same thought with booster. When you're taking it across to that, booster knows where your prescribed pressure is supposed to be, and it will fight to maintain that. So that's what's really cool. You see that commonality across our product line.
Yeah, and I have to geek out again because cannot be contained.
Yeah.
So the one thing I really liked, I was heavily involved with our testing on a lot of different of these single valve air cushions. One thing I thought was interesting and what I've heard a lot of questions on is there is a newer single valve style called a Star Stable Air. And what it does is it does have some soft foam in the air bladders. Now, it's not foam for immersion. It's not foam that if you bottom out, it's going to do anything. But what it does is it helps slow down the way the air flows through so that you have more postural stability when you're on an air cushion. So I think it's a really cool, innovative take on the air cushion. But just for people's awareness, we did test it. It does work perfectly with that. We even have a partnership with Star and ETAC where they're able to sell a bundled air cushion with the controller, which is pretty cool. So it does work on the stable air and the standard air. So that's another cool thing we discovered while we were doing our testing. Now, I see we have one last question. We got to tie it up here soon, but let me answer the pressure mapping. So one, Kalogon does not sell or officially recommend any specific system. What I can tell you is we've used multiple systems ourselves, and the two main companies that we use, just for your awareness, are X Sensor and Body Track. They both have their own pros and cons, and that's one that I would have to dive in to understand your needs to be able to recommend one over the other. But if you have specific questions on that, feel free to shoot me an email, and I'm happy to give you my non-Kalogon sponsored personal opinion on pressure maps, in case it's helpful.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining our very first official live Q&A. It's been awesome to hear all of your questions and get your feedback about Kalogon in general and Orbiter Med. Carla did link the Orbiter Med website or page on our website in the chat, so feel free to check that out. And again, reminder, if you have any concerns or questions for the product team or for Chris, please reach out to us. We dropped our emails in the chat, or if you don't know who to reach out to, contact at Kalogon is always a good option.
Yeah, and make sure if you have any questions, Chris is the man.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one out in the field. He's the one that's got the newest Orbiter Med demos out there. So if you have any specific questions, or you want an in-service, or you just want to learn more about the products.
Yeah. And again, guys, we work with our independent reps are fantastic. They're top of the line. I see Keisha Presley on here. She knows she works with Todd Livey in the field from Target Mobility, and just make sure to utilize them too. They're top of the line. They work through us. So reach out to me and I'll direct you to your appropriate Kalogon representative.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much, guys.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.